Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a cozy weekend reading vlog. I'm very excited because I recently got to rejoin Jan's Patreon, Jan Agaton. I will link her channel down in the description below, but I just got to rejoin her Patreon now that I am employed again, and just in time for her monthly readathon, Patreon readathon, and this month's theme is all things cozy. So I'm very excited about this. I do have a couple of other vlogs I'm currently reading for, so I'm not going to try and read a ton of other stuff this weekend, but I am going to try and read some manga because I always think that's really cozy. I've got the next volume of Jujutsu Kaisen, and I've got Phantom Tales of the Night Volume 3, and then I also have the audiobook for The Green Mile by Stephen King. I've been in a big horror mood, and I feel like just being cozy crafting with an audiobook is going to be perfect for this weekend, even if it is a horror audiobook. So that's what I'm going to be reading, and I'm very excited about it. But I also have a couple of other things I'm going to be doing this weekend that I think are going to be great. First up, I have a project I want to finish. It's a knitting project, and first of all, look at the bag it's in. I went on a family trip, and we went into this little independent yarn store. They had a bunch of these handmade project bags, and I just loved the little dragons on it. I thought it was so cute. So I got that one for myself, and I got a Dungeons and Dragons inspired one with dice and swords and stuff on it for my friend because she's the GM for our friend group. So they just had tons of these cute little craft bags, but I also got this that was inside of it, which is an octopus bag that I'm currently making. That's the front. There will be eyes here, but I gotta finish my little octopus dice bag. I've made 2 of these before. I love this pattern. It's so fun to make, and it's really actually pretty easy to make as well. So it's a great pattern. I think there's also a light version that uses fingering weight yarn instead of worsted, which is what this is. But I've got that, and then I have half of the tentacles ready to go. And then the other part of the tentacles, I need to knit one more of them, and then finish sewing these into the tentacle shape, get them on a needle, and attach them. So attach the tentacles, add some eyes, and then I need to make the eye cord for the closure. So there's it's gonna be hard to see, but there's little eyelets along here that will be the closure. So making great progress on this little bag, and I think I can definitely finish it this weekend. I don't have that much left. I think the longest piece is gonna be finishing the tentacles and getting them attached, and then the rest is gonna be really easy. So I want to get that done, and then I also need to prep some books for donating because I have giant boxes of books in the closet in the other room that are all books that I've unhauled over the last little while that have not gotten to go to a new home of any kind. They've not been donated, they've not been given to anyone, but I've just discovered that my local indie bookstore that I love and would love to support they have a used book section, and they'll take donations for used books, and I have some good special editions that I definitely want to make sure I get to them. I can also take them to some of the other local thrift stores and things, but I want to make sure at least the nicer books get into the bookstore and can support that bookstore because they're just wonderful. It's a really wonderful local bookstore, and they always have a great selection. The people that work there are so nice. I love going in there. So I'm going to be getting that kind of ready, but that means I need to pull out those boxes and get them sorted into smaller boxes because right now they're in 2 giant tubs that are going to be way too heavy to carry. And I'm also going to go ahead and catalog the books so that I know kind of what's in each box and double check that there's not anything that I've, since putting it in that box, decided actually I want to hold on to that. I do want to read that. So I'm going to do that this weekend. And when all of that is done, I'm going to clean out my linen closet too, but that's not very exciting. But when all of that is done, I'm also thinking I might bake a cake if I get the time. Also, if I finish this, I may cast on a new project. So yeah, I got lots of cozy activities and cleaning activities lined up, but cleaning makes the space cozy, so I feel like it works. And lots of stuff to do this weekend. I'm very excited. I think it's going to be a really great weekend, and I hope you will join me for a cozy reading and cleaning kind of weekend.
Forward. A letter. October 27, 1995. Dear constant reader, life is a capricious business. The story which begins in this little book exists in this form because of a chance remark made by a realtor I have never met. This happened a year ago on Long Island.
So it turns out I just needed a little bit of dedicated time to finish this up. I have now gotten all of my tentacles and everything set up. I was just like, after work, I'm just gonna power through it, and I've done that now. So everything is finished up and Kitchener stitched on. All of my ends are woven in, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's not my cleanest Kitchener stitch. It's definitely not the neatest I've ever done, but I'm fairly happy with it, and this is one that I'm keeping for me, so like it's not going to be gifted to anyone, so I'm fine with those imperfections. So I'm really enjoying making this. I love this pattern. It's by Deborah Ann West. I can't remember what her username on Ravelry is, but this is the octopus bag, and it's just so much fun to knit. It's so easy. It's like a perfect like scrap project. I have like this much left of the scrap yarn I was using for the tentacles, and then I have like a little chunk of my main color left, but it's great for using up scraps because you don't need like a large quantity of anything for it. So now that I'm at this point, the next couple of steps I have is that I need to make the eye cord and I need to pick some eyes, because the one thing I hate about this project is that normally I've like embroidered on some eyes, and I hate doing that. I find it so tedious and annoying to do. So I instead have bought a bunch of safety eyes because I want to try and make more of these, because I just enjoy the pattern so much. So I figured like I'd just go ahead and get some safety eyes, and then I would have these on hand for whenever I make new ones. So that was the thinking there. Where's the other one of those? So since that's the next step, I thought that while I'm looking through these safety eyes to decide which colors I want, which I'm just kind of like grabbing some and setting them aside as possibilities. But while I am doing that, I thought we could talk about The Green Mile, because I have started that audiobook and I'm about 10% in. I think I've read like the first hour. It's a 14-hour audiobook, so I'm still very early. I've just kind of gotten into the setup point of it, but I've only read one Stephen King book before, so I'm kind of like getting reacquainted with his writing a little bit, which the one I read before was It, which I thought was fine. It's definitely not like my favorite book I've ever read. I wanted to give his work like one more try before, you know, going, he's not an author for me, because I think that I could like his work. I think his storytelling is really engaging. He's really good at creating very believable characters, like people that seem realistic to me and react realistically to the situations that they're experiencing. And I think he also does a really good job of making like very vivid settings. And I'm finding that to be the case here in The Green Mile. Like that's what I remember from reading It, and I'm finding that to be the case here too. And I've been enjoying it so far. Like I said, I'm still like very early in, but this one is set in a prison. I didn't know much about this going in. This is one that I am aware of, that there is a movie adaptation. I think it has Tom Hanks in it. I might be wrong on that. I can't quite remember. But I believe there's a movie adaptation, and like I know that it's set in a prison, but that was pretty much the extent of my knowledge. So I'm interested to kind of get further into it and see more what it's about, because this isn't this kind of story I was expecting. I thought it was some sort of like prison break story. It's definitely not that. This one is following a guy named Paul Edgecombe, who is like the head guard of the death row unit at this prison called Cold Mountain Prison, or Cold Mountain Penitentiary or something like that. And they call the unit the Green Mile because there's like green linoleum from the unit to the electric chair. And so it's the Green Mile. But Paul is the head guard there, and it's him looking back like many years later on a set of strange events that happened one summer while he was working on this unit. And it all revolves around this new guy named John Coffey, who was brought onto the unit. And they find out like kind of what he did. And it's like this really horrific crime, and he very clearly like feels guilty about it. And it's not like he's saying, oh, I didn't do it. He comes onto the unit and he's like, clearly I've done this horrible thing and I feel bad about it. But like his personality, the kind of person that he appears to be, is like super far removed from the kind of person that you would think would be capable of the acts that he has committed. And I'm finding that really interesting so far. I've just gotten to the bit where John Coffey has like entered the unit, and they were kind of meeting him and having those kind of initial interactions with him. And what I'm finding very interesting about this so far is that Stephen King is really like humanizing the people on the unit. Like I think it would be really easy to write these characters as these terrible, horrible murderers who've done these horrible things. Actually, they're like all murderers, but these people who've done like horrific things, and they're just like monsters, right? Like I feel like that would be a very easy way to write them, but that's not at all what he's done. Like, these characters have done these horrible things, and we slowly are like finding out kind of the details of the crimes that they've committed. Kind of in the early section, we're finding out more about how they ended up on this unit. There's only 2 people in the unit during this early part of the book. It's just John Coffey and like one other guy who was already there. But they're like, while they're on the unit, they're these like very polite, mild-mannered people. And it's really interesting to me how much like King is humanizing them and not going for that easy like, oh well, they're monsters kind of characterization. So I'm enjoying like the way that they're being set up as people, and the way that like everybody on the unit, the murderers, the guards, the other people that work in the prison, are treated as people. Like they're individuals with nuance and, you know, all kind of capable of good and evil. And I'm enjoying that characterization for them. I'm liking that kind of setup. The thing that I'm not liking at this point, because I'm not far enough in to say much about the plot because there's not been much of it yet. The one thing I'm not liking is that the summer is like memorable for the main character for 2 reasons. One of them being the weird events that happened around the arrival of John Coffey, but the other thing being because he had a UTI that was like really horrific, and he was like super uncomfortable and in pain for the whole summer, and it's just constantly being mentioned. Like every time he even moves the slightest bit in a scene, we're being told about how much pain he's in and how like sitting certain ways hurts, and he has to like shift and pull the fabric of his trousers away from his crotch so that that doesn't hurt. And like he goes to the bathroom before going to this other place, and we're told that like that makes it much worse, so now he's in more pain and he's more uncomfortable, and all of this is kind of like irritating his mood and everything. And it's just like weird to me how much that is being mentioned. I'm like, maybe it's gonna be important later, but right now it's just like, why am I constantly being reminded of this guy's UTI? Like every single movement he makes, he mentions this. And the only thing I can figure is that it's kind of like a sense memory that goes along with like the other memories of the weird stuff that happened, but it's just been like really weird reading it and having that kind of like constant repetition of that point. So that's the one thing where I'm like, I don't quite know why this is here, but like, sure, let's continue reading. Yeah, so far I'm enjoying it. I'm still not very far in, but I'm curious to see where things are going to go, just because this is not the story that I thought it was, so I really don't know what to expect from the rest of it. That said, I have picked out some eyes for my octopus, so we got some options. I have a couple I think I'm leaning towards, but I don't have anything that was like specifically like pink and teal, but I've got like this sort of like pink and blue kind of a thing. I've got, I think this one's kind of cool. It's like, it would be really striking because it's stand out, but these are kind of a greenish yellow. Then I've got like a dark blue. Just kind of hold up that. I feel like that's just too blue because it's going to be like really obviously not that. So I think the dark blue are going to be a no. Then I have this like kind of pinky purple color. Let's see if I can get that one to focus. There we go. That's kind of a pinky purple kind of a thing, which could be cool. There's also kind of a aqua-y, teal-y with a bit of orange, which I kind of like. Like, it's not the same shade, but it's a lot closer than that dark blue. And then the last ones are, oh, that one is the last one. Never mind. So those are all of the options that I am considering. Give the camera a moment to remember that I exist. I think I'm gonna say no to these purpley ones and these purpley ones. So I'm gonna go down to these two. And I think I'm leaning more in this direction. I like these, but I think I like this better. So let's see, I'm gonna grab my bag here. See if I can kind of get the eyes situated. Nice thing about knitting is that, like, because it's fabric, it's got a little stretch to it. You got a little bit of give. You can kind of test things out and see how they work. As long as I don't lock the backs of these on, should be good. Kind of settled in there. Okay, that's one. Let's get this other guy in here. Same thing, kind of trying to do this without stretching anything out too much, but also recognizing that fabric can kind of mostly be pulled back into place. Okay. It's kind of unsettling. Honestly, I think I like it. I like that it's kind of unsettling, in part because it's not the right kind of pupil for an octopus, but like, the colors are so much better than the other colors. I think we're gonna go with that. So let me get out the backs and add those, and then that part will be done, and I'll just be down to making the I-cord. So I gotta remember which direction the backs go on, because I've actually never used safety eyes on a project before, so this is new to me. And get these in here. So I think, is it that way? Yes, okay. Not difficult at all. This one kind of figured out. All right, the eyes, the unsettling eyes are secure. We're good to go. Next up, I-cord, although first I'm gonna put all of these extra eyes away. But yeah, but I think that pretty much covers my thoughts so far on the Green Mile. Like, I feel like I have more to say than I probably should have just at that start. But I feel like it's that I'm partially going in with like fairly strong thoughts on Stephen King because of my sort of, not antipathy, that is not the correct word, my neutrality towards it. I think there's some really great scenes in it, like some bits that really stuck with me and were really like creepy. But I also feel like it is just so overwritten. It did not need to be 1,200 pages or whatever it was. It's too many pages, and I honestly started to forget parts of it like within a week of having read it. So like it's this weird mixed bag of like really striking, memorable scenes and horrific things happening to these people, and then also just like these scenes I'm like, I don't remember half of what happened. It's really like the big dramatic scenes that have stuck with me, and the rest of it I'm just like, I don't remember any of that. So I think my kind of neutrality on it, my feeling that it was like very 3-star, colored my expectations going into the Green Mile. And I wouldn't say that I'm like, oh, this is so good right now, but like I'm intrigued and I want to know where the story is going. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it. I don't know that I have like strong opinions yet, but the fact that it's shorter than it is already like a point in its favor. So I'm curious to see how I'm going to feel about it going forward. For now though, I think I'm gonna make my I-cord, and I might read some manga this evening. Try to get through both of those, or at least one of them. Not really sure yet. I also know that my partner's friend is streaming this evening. They're going to be playing Mario Kart, so I'll probably watch that for a little bit. He's doing a subathon. I will put his Twitch channel in the description. I think by the time you're seeing this, that subathon should be over, because I think it's just this weekend, but still, I'm going to put both my partner's Twitch channel and his friend's Twitch channel in the description down below in case you want to check them out. I think his friend is Caffeine Vaccine over on Twitch, and he does a lot of like Destiny 2 and Monster Hunter and that kind of thing. And then my partner plays a mix of like kind of weird indie stuff, and also he's playing a lot of Persona at the moment. So those will be linked in case you want to go check either of them out.
Hey, I appreciate you leaving me. What the fuck?
This panel is just absolutely taking me out, because they have just met. They like the same kind of girls, and so this guy just imagines a thing that might have happened where Yuji like comforts him and other besties. I love that for him. Hello and happy Saturday. Got a fresh battery in the camera because it was blinking at me. Owen got his snuggles, he's happy. And I've just finished volume 5 of Jujutsu Kaisen, so it's a good start to my morning. I'm still really enjoying this series. I was like forgetting some of the plot kind of between, but usually like within a couple of pages I start to remember kind of what was going on. But this one is following the two different schools who are involved in this, like, it's supposed to be like a sister school goodwill event, but it's really turned into like a free-for-all of the students trying to kill each other. And it's really fun and interesting. I think there's a lot of new characters that we're kind of getting to learn about in this volume. And I particularly like Toto here, who, like, he meets Yuji, and his, like, question that he always asks is, what kind of girls do you like? And Yuji answers correctly, and Toto imagines a whole scenario that might have happened if they had gone to the same school, and immediately is like, ah, this is my new best friend. And it's just really funny, and there's like a mixture of kind of funny moments like that, and then we also get some like darker backstory on some of the characters. Sorry, I was turning on some light so it's a little less dark here. But we get some interesting backstory on some of our characters. In particular, we learn a lot more about Maki and Mai, who are twins who attend the two different schools, and they like don't get along. So we learn a lot about their backstory and kind of like why they don't get along, what happened in their past that's kind of driven this wedge between them. We also start to learn about some of like the different techniques beyond just like the core cast of the Kyoto school, or not Kyoto, is it Kyoto? I think it is Kyoto. Hang on, now I'm forgetting which school is which. No, it's the other school. I can't remember what it's called. There it is. Tokyo. So we learn more about the different, like, techniques that the Tokyo school characters have, but also because we have, like, the Kyoto school characters, we're getting a lot more, like, different techniques being introduced and kind of learning about how all of these different characters go about hunting curses. I did think it was really interesting how little of this particular volume is about hunting curses, because the event is supposed to be like a competition where the two schools are like hunting curses in like a, you know, kind of monitored area, and they have like X number of curses that are available to hunt, and if like whoever kills the most of the curses is going to like win. And there's very little curse hunting in this. I also really like this very end. There's a really interesting twist that happens, like kind of two back to back, that I think are really interesting in combination. And I'm excited to dive into volume 6 at some point and see what goes on from here, because I think it's laid down some groundwork for some very interesting like character development, but also like there's clearly like a lot of different kind of machinations and plots going on in the background, and I'm curious to see how all of those are going to play out. So yeah, I'm still really enjoying this. I know that the series gets really sad later on. I'm aware vaguely of the Shibuya incident arc, but like for now I'm having a great time. I'm really liking the characters. I think they're really fun, and I'm starting to get to grips with all the different people and like who they are. There's a lot of characters, so I think that kind of having a lot of time between the different volumes as I'm reading is making me struggle a little bit with remembering like what everybody's name is, but I'm starting to kind of get to grips with like the full cast list that we have so far. So we're getting there. But yeah, having a great time with this, and I'm glad that I finally picked up volume 5 because I've been meaning to read it for a while. So now I'm actually gonna go get some breakfast and then work on some of the cleaning and like organizing stuff I need to do today. I don't know why the camera's having so much trouble with the lighting here. If I get closer, maybe. But later I am going to read Phantom Tales of the Night Volume 2, and I need a little break from that. But yeah, that is the plan for the day. I'm going to be sorting some books, getting ready to donate them, and also probably cleaning out my linen closet, putting away some laundry, doing some like exciting stuff like that. And then later, come back, I'll read some of this, and I'm thinking I might also start a new knitting project so that I have something to do. Excuse me, hiccup. I think I'm gonna start a new knitting project so that I have something to do while I'm listening to The Green Mile, because I want to listen to some more of that. But I've finished my octopus bag. He's totally done, and he's fabulous and a little bit unsettling, and I love that. So bag is done. I actually need to get my dice out and put them in this bag because they've been in the same bag for a while, and I just was like, I want to try something new. I want to have a little octopus. I think he's fun, so I need to put my dice in there. But yeah, I think I'm going to start a new knitting project. I haven't quite decided what that's going to be yet. I have a sweater I've been working on, but it's middle of summer. It's a little hot to be working on a sweater because I'm finding that like I'm in the middle portion of it, like working on the body, and it's getting really like heavy and bulky, and so I'm having to like sit the sweater in my lap while I'm working, and it's a little warm for that. So I'm thinking I might actually start a shawl. I got some really beautiful yarn that my mom gifted to me for my birthday this year, and I have this like really beautiful kind of like, I think it's like blue mostly with some greens and purples. It's been a little while since I've looked at it, but it's like a super soft cotton. And I think I'm gonna make the Boneyard Shawl by Stephen West with it because the colors are really vibrant and I want that to kind of stand out. So I wanted a kind of simple pattern that would let the colors kind of stand out instead of the pattern. So I think I might start that, which means I'll need to skein up, or like not skein up yarn, I'll need to cake up some yarn from the skeins, and then I'll be able to cast that on. I'm gonna have to close the curtains next time I film clearly because it's struggling with the light. But yeah, that's the plan for the day, and I'm gonna go get started because right now I'm hungry, but also I know I really need to get all the book donation stuff kind of sorted out, so I'm gonna go do that. It looks like nothing's changed, but it's been like an hour, and I've had breakfast, and I've finished Phantom Tales of the Night, Volume 3. I really enjoyed this one as well. I think that this is another book where we're getting a lot of interesting backstory happening. So if you're not familiar with the series, this is about a place called the Murakumo Inn, which is run by a character known only as the owner, and he, instead of asking for payment, takes the secrets of people and creatures that stay in his inn. And so he has these two sidekicks, Spider and Butterfly, and the three of them basically take care of guests. They gather secrets. There's like monsters and ghosts and all kinds of things happening. And there's also a kind of ongoing plot line with somebody who wants to like fight the owner. So I really enjoyed this volume because we get more backstory on Spider, who is the one character who we don't know much about up until this volume. We get kind of the story of how he's ended up the way that he is, why he's working for the owner and everything. We also get a little bit more development on something to do with Butterfly's personality, because we get a bit of his backstory in volume 2, and there's kind of a continuation of that in here. And then there's also, I think, some interesting stuff in the latter half of this volume about like the ways that like our chance encounters with other people that maybe mean nothing to us can have a huge effect on the lives of other people, and kind of this idea that we should always be kind because we don't know what somebody else is going through. So I really enjoyed that theme in the later part of this. And I also like the way that, like, as usual, this volume does the thing that so far the first two have also done, where it introduces some stuff kind of at the beginning, and then that stuff circles back around and comes back at the end of the volume and becomes a part of that kind of overarching plot line. So overall, had another really good time with this, so having a great time with both of these series. I'm definitely going to be continuing on with both of them, and I'm excited to see where this is going to go next because it's interesting the way that it's like little vignettes, but there is this kind of like continuing plot line that mostly surfaces at like the end of every volume. So you kind of get these like little pieces of that at the end of each volume, and then we have these vignettes of like little stories about the different people staying at the inn. So really enjoying the format, liking the characters a lot, and I'm looking forward to reading volume 4. So I have finished 2 of the 3 things I wanted to read this weekend, which is a big success to me. Now I'm going to go work on all of that organizing stuff I said that I needed to do because I have not gotten started yet. Had kind of a slower morning than I anticipated. We had some breakfast, had some coffee, and then Mom and I were both just kind of reading. So gonna go do that other stuff, and maybe I'll manage to listen to some of the Green Mile as well. I don't know, we'll see. I'm not sure how long any of this is going to take, but I am hoping to do some knitting later as well. So we'll kind of see what the day brings, I think. So we started the organizing, and I had forgotten like just how many books had been set aside to donate. These were all that was in the closet. There's actually, you can't see it right now, but there's a stack kind of in this back corner I need to grab too, and another stack out in the hallway. But I forgot just how many books I had set aside to donate. I did a big Ruthless unhaul like a few years ago, and this has all been like sitting in a closet since then. So what I think I'm going to do is go through these stacks and sort them. Part of the books are going to go to my local indie bookstore because they have a used book section. I'm going to send them like the stuff that's in better condition, and some of my special editions and things like that that are going. And then the rest of them I think I'm just going to like donate to some local thrift stores and things like that. So I'm going to divide them, figure out what's going where, and then we'll go donate those I think later today. So yeah, these will finally be out of the closet there. Be good, because they were taking up a lot of space, obviously. We also did find one other fun thing, which is this like felt velvety painting thing, like marker coloring thing, that I did when I was in like middle school or so. So yeah, there was that. That's fun. Probably not going to keep it, but like a neat little blast from the past. And yeah, I've got some work ahead of me today. Wish me luck. It's going to take a while. Okay, well, it didn't take quite as long as I had feared it would. It's been about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And I ended up getting everything sorted. So I got one little box here that's going to go to my indie bookstore for them to resell. And then I have a bunch that are going to go to a local thrift store that's nearby. So that's done. I did, however, rediscover one of my favorite books from when I was a kid. The Complete Guide to Dinosaurs and Prehistoric Reptiles. I suspect this is quite out of date, and this is going to get donated. I just wanted to show it off first because I forgot about it. It was way at the bottom of that box, the really big one. So yeah, I was a dinosaur kid. I loved this. I liked dinosaurs and sharks. I still love sharks. Yeah. I unfortunately have not been able to find my shark book. I think I got rid of it much earlier, like before I moved to the city I currently live in. Also found 3 and 4 in the Women's Murder Club series that I'm going to hold on to, but not for me. I'm actually going to get them to my aunt, who has been reading the series and really enjoying it. So I'm going to go ahead and gift those to her. And then the one thing that is staying on my shelf out of all of that is I am going to keep my copy of It by Stephen King. I am currently in the process of giving King's work another try, as we know from my currently listening to The Green Mile, and I have a couple of other Stephen Kings I'm going to try and read soon, per a recommendation I got from somebody I just met. So I will be actually making a video about that. You'll be seeing that in a few weeks, I think, hopefully, if I can get through all the books, but some of the recommendations I got from them were Stephen King. So kind of giving his work another try. So I'm going to hold this on my shelf. I'm going to put it on my trophy shelf. I have a shelf for books that I feel like could have defeated me, but instead I defeated them. And this is gonna go on that shelf. I don't hate it. It's one that I think has kind of like lingered on my mind. I still think about it a lot. It's just that like it was way overwritten. So it's something that I'm like, I might revisit at some point in the future when I'm more familiar with his other work and just see how I feel about it like on a reread. But yeah, I think I'll go ahead and hang on to this. So kind of to that point, this was listed on my Pango shop. I decided to take down my Pango shop because I sold 2 books, 2 like special edition books off of it, like right after I opened it, and then everything else has just been sitting there. People are putting it in their shelves, putting it in their carts, and a lot of it's been in there for at least months, if not more than a year. So it's just not worth it for me anymore. I just want the books out. We need the space back. So I took down my Pango shop. I'm going to be holding on to It, which is so chunky that it fully stands up on its own, which is kind of terrifying. But yeah, I'm gonna put that back on my shelf, and that task is done. I gotta finish helping carry stuff down to the car to donate. But after that, the task will actually be done, and then I can sit and rest, which is good because I'm very hot and tired, and I'm actually kind of getting a headache. I suspect from the being hot and tired part of things, I'm somewhat prone to heat headaches. They kind of run in my family. So currently trying to rehydrate a little bit and let that not develop into a headache, and then I'll start working again. So yeah, successful so far, and actually it's only like 2:40. So I still have a lot of day left, and I also have just remembered that my friends and I have our 13th age session this week, I believe. Yes, so it's tonight at 6:30. So I'm going to be playing 13th age with my friends. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm playing a character that's inspired by Ryunosuke from the Great Ace Attorney series. I really love those games, and I was trying to come up with a fun character to play this like completely new setting. It's new for everybody. None of us have ever played 13th age before, and our GM has never run a game of 13th age before. So it's been like a fun experience kind of learning together, and we're having a great time. So I'm going to be doing that later this evening. But for now, I'm going to finish helping with all of this organization stuff, and yeah, we'll see where we go from there. I might do some more knitting. I might listen to The Green Mile for a while. I'm kind of in the mood to listen to an audiobook, so I think I might start some knitting and listen for a bit, but I'll figure it out once I get all of the mess cleaned up, because right now there's kind of like boxes everywhere. There's a bag that had books in it. My desk is kind of a wreck, which you can't see because I've cleverly hidden it off camera, but I'm gonna go finish cleaning everything up, and then we'll figure out what to do from there. Move this up a little bit. I haven't finished carrying everything down yet, but I did get some book mail I wanted to share real quick, because I attended a virtual conference the other day, and there was a speaker who was specifically a speaker on rhetoric and linguistics. That's what he studies. He is a speechwriter, and his presentation was, sorry, I'm very tired. His presentation was one of the more interesting ones of that conference, and he has a book called How to Apologize for Killing a Cat. So I decided to give it a shot. Since I'm working as a writer now, I feel like a book on rhetoric is not going to be a bad thing to have on my shelves, and this one has a particularly funny title. So while I was watching his presentation, I went and ordered this. Also, just noticed at the top of the back it says no cats were harmed in the making of this book. So that's fun. So yeah, got that in the mail today. I ordered it like Thursday, so it got here pretty quick, and I'm looking forward to reading it. He speaks in a very like engaging way, so I'm hoping that the writing in here is going to be equally as engaging, because I feel like rhetoric is one of those things that's like really important to know about and like understand how it works, but it's not the most exciting thing to learn about most of the time. So I'm hopeful that this solves that problem, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Quick update, I went to go get out the stuff I needed for the knitting project I want to start, and I looked at the yarn again. It's gorgeous. I'm excited to work with it, but I realized that I don't have the right needle, because I need to have a US 7 40-inch needle, and my only 40-inch cable I have one US 7, I have a US 4 40-inch circular, or I have a set of interchangeables that have a 40-inch cable, but I only have one 40-inch cable for them, and it's on the sweater that's sitting over here that I'm not currently working on because it is too damn warm to be working on a sweater. So I have to pick something else. So I was looking through my yarn cabinet, kind of deciding what I wanted to work on, and I realized I have this yarn that I bought, I think like in high school. Maybe it was college, but I think it might have been high school. I was gonna make something for my mom with it, and I know at the time that I had like a specific pattern picked out, but I don't know what that pattern was. But I have 2 skeins of it stuck to the bag. I got 2 skeins of it, and it's absolutely beautiful. And like, these are such fall colors, and since fall is coming up, I obviously need to do something with these. However, I don't remember what pattern I was going to make with these at all, so I'm going to look and see what I can find. But if you're at all curious, this is Nerd Girl Yarns is the dyer that made this, and this one is Honey You Should See Me in a Crown on her Swanky base. It's the name of the base, which is a 4-ply fingering, and it's 50% superwash merino and 50% silk, so it is extremely soft. I'm very excited to be working with this. I'm glad that I remembered that I had it in there. So I'm gonna look for something that'll use up the bulk of this yardage, just because I don't do a good job of like using up yarn scraps. So I'd like to go ahead and use like as much of this as I can. So I'm gonna go check out some patterns, figure out what I want to work on, and we will go from there. See if I can find something that doesn't use a US 7 40-inch needle, because I have, I think, every other cable length available. It's just not that one. I just finished caking up the first skein, and I just had to take a moment to, 1, say like, look how pretty this is, but also 2, like, what I learned in recent years, I think within the last year or so, is that when you cake your yarn, you should actually like do it twice. So cake it from the skein and then cake it again, because it puts less tension on the fibers, so it's not going to like get stretched out as quickly while it's caked. But it makes these just like beautiful, like fluffy, squishy cakes of yarn, and I love that. It's so pretty. I'm excited to start working with this. I decided on the Windschiff, I think. Yes, Windschiff shawl by Stephen West, which is, it's this, which I think is going to work well since this is such a busy yarn. I wanted something that was mostly just going to let the yarn speak for itself. It's got a little bit of texture that'll be fun to knit, but like there's a lot of stock in it and just kind of like straightforward stitches. So I think this will work fairly well since this is a pretty busy yarn. One more change of plans is the boneyard shawl. I am going to be making the boneyard shawl. I realized that there's a fingering weight version that uses a US 4 needle, and what I have is actually a US 5, but I tend to knit a little bit tight and need to go up just 1 needle size anytime I use fingering weight yarn. So I get to make a boneyard shawl, just not with the yarn that I originally planned, but it's fine. I'll make 2. It's fine. I started out my day with a headache, so probably not going to be as productive a Sunday as I was originally intending, but I did manage to do a good chunk of my shawl yesterday. I did manage to start the Boneyard shawl with the 1 size up needles and this yarn, and it's of course very bright behind me, so it's not going to want to show you the colors, but I think I'm going to be glad that I went with the simpler pattern. You can really see how like lightweight this thing is with how much light's coming through it, but I think I'm going to be glad that I chose the more simple pattern with less texture for this particular yarn, because this is obviously like a very busy variegated yarn. There's lots of color in it, so I think this is going to be, you know, the best design choice I could have made for this particular yarn. I genuinely can't remember what I was originally planning to do with this, but oh, I also discovered that I still had the receipt for it, and I did not buy it as far back as I thought, but it's still been in my yarn cabinet for a while because I bought it in 2019. Like within a couple of days, I think just a couple of days before I graduated with my undergraduate degree was the date on that receipt. So that's really funny. Also, it looks like that yarn store, the Nerd Girl Yarns, is maybe no longer in business because I found that her website is gone and her Etsy just says like currently not selling on Etsy. So I can't find anything else about her right now, but yeah, kind of a bummer because her yarns were really cool. But it looks like she's gone out of business. Or maybe she's selling under a different name or selling somewhere else that I just have not found. Who knows? But yeah, today is a headache day. I've been having this a lot on Sundays. I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little more headache prone, which tends to run in my family. My mom was the same way when she was my age. And I have been frequently having, particularly on the weekends, I'm not sure what this is, but like particularly on the weekends, I tend to start my day with a headache on Sunday. Not every week, but like often enough that it's really annoying. So I'm not sure what that's about, but it means I'm probably going to be a little less productive today than I intended. I was going to finish up like cleaning up some of the stuff from the work I did this weekend and like go donate some stuff, but I don't know if I'm going to have the wherewithal to do that today, but I'll probably work on my shawl some more. I haven't read anything else. I ended up watching YouTube instead of listening to the Green Mile. Thought my cat had stolen my needle stoppers. I forgot I put them in here. I ended up just watching some YouTube because that was what I was in the mood for. So we did that. And I'll probably do some more of this today. I might listen to some of the Green Mile, but I'm not really sure if I'm going to do that or not. It's just going to depend a little bit on how I'm feeling. I am going to go ahead and get my bullet journal for the week set up. I'm going to do my little weekly spread, which I don't know if it's been a while since I've shown these, but like I do a just like very basic weekly spread, and I give myself a lot of space just because sometimes things come up that I'm not anticipating, but I've been changing it around a little bit, like all the time. So currently it's like the week in the middle, I have my to-dos, like my general to-dos over here, anything specifically for YouTube. And then lately I've been putting like my reading plans and just kind of like keeping track of what I need to read for each week in terms of the videos that I'm hoping to create, because I think that having that kind of in front of my face is maybe helping me actually achieve those. So this is kind of the stuff that I'm working on at the moment. But yeah, gonna go ahead and get that set up for the week, and then we'll see what else I get up to today. I'm not sure. This may end up being a very more cozy, less cleaning kind of a day, just because I was not anticipating the headache. At this point I should be, because it happens to me fairly frequently, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at for today. I also realized I need to go put my yarn binder away. It's sitting here. I gotta clean up my desk a little bit just because I have some stuff laid out here from yesterday, and my iPad's over here. Oh, it's finished charging. Okay. Take that off the charger. Exciting. Yeah, I'm a little all over the place today, which is probably quite obvious in the way I'm kind of rambling. But yeah, it's Sunday now. And so far, it's been a really nice weekend, actually. I feel really good about the cleaning that we have gotten done and the reading I've done, and just kind of hanging out, having a good time. Oh, we had fun playing 13th Age yesterday. We did have a little bit of a problem where we got action economied by one of the combat situations that my friend had put together. It was just, we all rolled really low for initiative, and so we were getting our butts kicked before it was our turn in combat. So we had a bit of a problem with that, but we did manage to make it through that. Nobody died, it was fine. We did have one person get down, but it was okay. Everybody survived, which is good because we're only like a couple of months into this campaign. We're still like pretty early. We're level 2 at the moment. And yeah, had a good time with that though. We were finishing up a murder mystery that my friend had put together for us to play. So that was really fun, and looking forward to seeing what we're gonna do next week. Or not next week, next session, which is 2 weeks from now. I wish this light would figure itself out instead of being all over the place. There we go. Next session is 2 weeks from now. I know she did not get to do her plot hook because we were all falling asleep. It took us quite a while to get through that combat situation. So we were all like falling asleep when we finished playing yesterday. So I think she's gonna have to like introduce the plot hook at the beginning of the next session. So we'll see how that goes. I have no idea what she has planned next for us because we've had like all kinds of very different, what's the word I want, adventures. The way the 13th Age works, you have like adventuring days, which is like a singular adventure that fits into your overall thing. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna stop rambling now. I can tell that I'm tired and that I am not feeling great because I am just kind of rambling on and on. But I'm gonna go fill out my bullet journal. I'll probably do some more knitting and I'll let you guys know if I do any more reading. But otherwise, I think this is gonna be a very like cozy, trying not to exacerbate the headache kind of day. That's just a quick cat update. I gotta say that this little guy has been the sweetest little friend today. He's been snuggling with me most of the morning. Like I was sitting on the couch downstairs and he sat and snuggled with me for a while. And then I came up here to film and knit and read. And he has immediately taken up residence on the love seat so that he can hang out because he's a good little boy.
I'm going to pick 5 books to put on my TBR for September. He's not doing my whole TBR because there are some books that I actually have to get to, whether they be ARCs or Patreon buddy reads or whatever, but he does get the opportunity to pick 5 books on my TBR.
Been a few hours. I managed to do a little more knitting. I did a couple more rows. I finished the 4th section of my shawl, so I have just 13 more sections to go. It's a 17 repeats if I remember correctly. So yeah, 13 more sections to go. I think I'm gonna have in the realm of 400-ish stitches on those last few rows, which is gonna be a lot to bind off, but I'm really loving it. It's fun to work on. It's like just enough to keep me engaged while I'm working on it and not so much that I can't like watch something or have a conversation or do something else while I'm working on it at the same time. It's like very much TV knitting and I'm really liking that. It's exactly what I was looking for. So I did a little bit of that. I also did manage to listen to a little bit more of The Green Mile, and I have actually now finished part 1. I just found out, so if you don't know, The Green Mile was originally published as a serial novel, so it was published in separate sections that eventually make up the full story. Kind of the way that like there were serials back in the day. So it was published like that, and that's fairly unusual for a modern novel, and I think that it's leading to some weirdness with the pacing, at least for me. I think this may be more from me not being as familiar with that format, but the pacing of it is just striking me as kind of odd because the first section, the first part that I have read, I've just crossed over into part 2 in the audiobook, but that first section is kind of like popping back and forth in time where you're going to like before, or like I think it starts out right when John Coffey arrives, and then we get some stuff that's like way before it, kind of interactions between the guards, like well before John Coffey arrived, and then other sections that are like well after he's passed away. Like it's just like popping back and forth, but all told through the lens of somebody who is thinking through all of those events through their relation to the events that happen around John Coffey. So there's this kind of like sense of foreboding that like we know that something is coming, that there's going to be some new element of the story that's going to come up, and the narrator is thinking about that thing but is not yet telling us about that thing. So I would say that like the first part feels like basically nothing happens. We get introduced to John Coffey, we see a couple of different interactions between the guards. We also get the full story of Coffey's crimes and like how it was discovered and what happened like in the immediate aftermath of it, and his like behavior throughout that. So we get like that full story, and then we just get this kind of like ominous sense that like something else is coming. Like in the later part of the story, we're going to learn about like what actually happened when Coffey arrived in the prison and what made this such like an unusual summer. Obviously there's going to be a lot more happening in later sections, but this section felt like very light in terms of content. Like it was just establishing some of those character relationships and some of the like tensions that are going to be important. So I think it felt a little bit weird as like a single section of a book, because it feels like I'm not quite sure how it's moving the whole thing forward, but I'll be interested to see if I feel differently about it once I get further in, if like some of the events of the later sections kind of illuminate for me why we needed to know that stuff at the first section. Otherwise, and I'm still enjoying it. I think it's an interesting story. I don't love all of it. I think there's again so many more comments on the main character's UTI. It's come up like 10 more times, and there's an entire like conversation that multiple conversations that he has with other people about it. So that's just kind of odd. I'm not understanding what the point of that is. That keeps coming up, and I'm just not entirely sure where it's going. That's I think the one big thing I'm not enjoying is that. Also because it's set in like the 1930s, I think. It's very like early 20th century. Because of the era it's set in, there's a lot of uses of the N-word being thrown out there, and I just find that uncomfortable to read. Like I get that it's a historical accuracy thing, but like, and also they're prison guards, and at least one of them is clearly an awful person, but I don't know. It's just uncomfortable as like a modern reader to be hearing that, knowing that like we can tell stories without having to have that in there. So I'm finding that uncomfortable, because I think it's already come up like 3 or 4 times in part 1, which is I think less than 100 pages of the story. So yeah, those are I think the big things. It's just that I feel like there's some stereotypes, some language that's being used that's really just not necessary, and I say that knowing that it's like a historical accuracy thing, but also just this constant reference to the narrator's UTI. Mostly I don't like that, because it's just like what is this adding to the story other than I have to know about how uncomfortable Paul is at all times. But yeah, other than that, I am enjoying it. I think there's some interesting like relationships kind of emerging between the various prison guards, and kind of we get to see a lot of like Paul's relationships with them, how he interacts with them, how he interacts with the warden of the prison, and I'm curious to see what happens when Coffey and the other inmates are kind of more present in the story, because right now they're feeling much more like background. They're there in like mentions, but they're not really like central yet. But yeah, so far interested to see where it's going. I'm intrigued, I guess is the word I want. And I'm not really sure what to expect. That said, I'm not going to finish it today. I think I've got like 11 and a half hours left in the audiobook, so I got a while left, and it's like 7 o'clock tonight, but I am happy that I've made some progress. I'm enjoying it so far, and I'm looking forward to listening to more of it and doing some more knitting, because I feel like it's a really good one for that. I'm not having, like, the combination of having like a TV knitting kind of a thing and then like a really easy to listen to kind of engaging story it's a good combination, especially for like a cozy chill afternoon. So that's the kind of day I've been having, just kind of relaxing. My headache did finally go away, and I'm gonna go do a couple of things I need to do. Like I need to towels in a wash. I need to put away some laundry, that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna go do those couple of things, but I think I am going to wrap up this vlog here because I don't think I'm gonna do anything else terribly interesting today. I'm just gonna do a little bit of laundry, probably chat with a friend for a little while, and then go to bed because I have a couple of big things I need to get done at work this week, so I wanna make sure that I'm well rested and prepared to do that. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, I hope you'll consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting at least once weekly, occasionally twice a week, but at least every Saturday, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.